What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Roots and Streams podcast. I am your host, Matthew Yamas, and just thank you for joining me if you are still staying on even after I skipped a week unannounced. And technically, I did have it, and I did say it in the last podcast, but I ended up cutting it out. And that's because I was going out of town. I don't think I mentioned it, or it's not in that 2 weeks ago podcast. I went out of town. I was going to be out of town for about a week, about 5 days. And originally I said it and it was in there. And then I was like, I'm not super concerned or worried about, people knowing me not being home and then messing with my family. I think it was more so I didn't want to put it out there and then any thoughts and worry to even just the slightest of something happening. So that's not really necessary. I'll skip a week. I'll explain it later. And it'll be okay. Hopefully it's fine. Hopefully everyone's like, you know what? Screw you, Matt. You skipped a week. You didn't tell us and we're done with you. If that's you, I'm fine with it. God has you listening to something else that you should be listening to. And if you're still here and then you are getting this message that I'm going to share and just my story of what these last almost 2 weeks have been like for me. So this episode is very much going to be kind of a diary dump of sorts and just me processing and sharing what I've been going through since essentially last Tuesday. Today's Wednesday, but it'll be coming out this Friday. But I'm recording this on a Wednesday, so it's been a little over a week. And like I said, I was out of town. And so that trip consisted of me going to Tulsa, Oklahoma. You're like, I've heard of Oklahoma, maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? But not much else. I don't know what a Tulsa is. And maybe that Sylvester Stallone show about him being like a mafia member in Tulsa. That'll give you some idea of what Tulsa is. But in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there's something very special to my heart and something that has been a source, a vessel, I believe, that is used by God and has been used in my benefit to help encourage my marriage, help make it stronger, help forgiveness to enter in, help to see us through really difficult times. And that is Transformation Church. And if you're not familiar with Transformation Church, you might be familiar with Pastor Michael Todd. And if you're not familiar with either of those, that's fine. It's a mega church that's actually physically pretty small, like still a few thousands of people or 1,000 or 2,000 of people that attend regularly there in Tulsa, but it's kind of a small town. But the online presence, is probably 10,000 plus that tune in weekly, and they probably have, I don't know, maybe hundreds of thousands of people that say they're part of TC Nation, which is like their online presence. And that's pretty much what me and myself and Sandra, more so myself, consider to be part of TC Nation. Pastor Mike is one of my pastors. I consider him at least my online pastor. And he was the only pastor that we really had during COVID. And so this is just a very special church to me. And they had a conference there. So you're like, well, okay, Matt, that church is there, but why were you there? They have an online presence. Why were you there? And first and foremost, this video may go a little bit longer. I feel like I have a lot to share. I have nothing written down structured, but I know that there's a lot to share. So you may find me taking my time, looking at notes, and trying to share with you as much as I can about what this last week has been for me. Because just that conference alone in Tulsa is like, what is a church conference? To be honest, their conference, to give you an idea of what the experience is like, and this may sound terrible to a lot of people that grew up in the church or just think of or have no idea of what that's like and just would hate the idea of sitting in church any longer than 45 minutes. But it really was a lot of worship. So we would worship, and there were multiple sessions. So say like one session was always, we would start with worship and we would worship. So it's like music, and they have a big band that plays great music. I mean, some of the best Christian music, the most entertaining Christian music, like hip hop, big band, gospel, sometimes rap, sometimes a little bit of rock. I mean, Michael Todd, who leads this whole musical front at Transformation Church, is a genius. I think God has chosen him and pricked him out of, the music world, the non-Christian music world, and saved him just for us to make this music. And it is just something you always want to dance to, something that will touch your heart. And so that's like, we'll worship for like an hour to an hour and a half. The longest was like 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like, I don't know, whatever your experience is in worship. And sometimes it's great. I've been at other churches and it's still a great experience, but it almost feels like a concert. And I know that may kind of sound like sacrilegious. Like it shouldn't feel like a Beyonce concert. It shouldn't feel like an Usher concert. And I'd say it doesn't. I would say it's as entertaining. You're jumping around and doing like, having fun as much as those concerts, but it feels so much more uplifting and pure. And I don't know, you're in tuned, and maybe because not maybe, I would imagine, and it makes sense because we're doing it to praise God, to praise the one who created everything. And I think when we do it for that, it's just a different experience. And for me, it was so free to be able to jump around and dance and be with some people that essentially I've never seen, I've never met in person. And that may sound odd, but I know I've mentioned it maybe a couple times in previous seasons that I have a tribe. I have a group of people that I meet with online that I call my tribe, that I actually met because of Transformation Church. So I have 3 other people in this group, and we started because Transformation Church was trying to get people online to meet together, have fellowship together. And we met, and we've been talking and just being really hot, so humble, open, and transparent, and sharing really deep things, asking each other for prayer when things weren't looking so good for, ourselves. And it's just been a really deep and growing bond, but we never seen each other in person. So we have myself in Los Angeles, right? We have Eric who's in North Carolina, Chelsea who was originally in Chicago, and Keisha who's in Houston. It's kind of crazy. We make a cross, or we used to. Now Chelsea moved, but we've never met each other in person until 2 years later. We all agreed to go to this conference. So just that anticipation was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm finally going to meet these people that have loved on me, that I feel like are a huge part of my life, but I've never, been able to hug them in person and sit down with them for longer than an hour or two. So we rented an Airbnb together, and we're like, hey, we're going to try out life together for the next 3 to 4 days. And it worked out. It was beautiful. And so I think I want to start there. So you have an idea now you have an idea of where I went, what I went for. So, again, the sessions, like a lot of worship, and then we'd get a sermon, which essentially is like one of the most amazing TED Talks that you have ever seen. And, like I hate to even say like a TED Talk, but when you watch a TED Talk, it's really great. It's really thought out. It's really powerful. So yes, it is like that, but it's something that is aiming for your soul, something that's aiming to connect you to your creator and to, in a way that's also connecting you with the people around you in a very loving, like encouraging way. It's hard to describe, but these sermons were just way more powerful. These speeches, if you're not familiar with church and you're like, what's a sermon? Like just speeches, just people speaking on their experience and sharing vulnerably what they've gone through and like what they've learned from it. Right. Well, I'll leave it at that. I know a sermon or like someone preaching at you sounds kind of intimidating or like a turnoff or boring, but just think of like a TED Talk and some of the most amazing ones ever. And so that's what would follow. So we'd get a lot of worship. Then we get a sermon, and some of the sessions had like really deep prayer. It was really quiet, really soft music that people were performing. Like one of my favorite performers, my favorite artist is Doe, and she was there and she led us in some really deep meditational like praying that was very powerful. And I felt you just can hear people weeping. We're all going through something. And this was a space where we can just pray and have other people pray for us. And you just felt the spirit in that room. And it was amazing. And my daughter was there. So Mia was there with me. It was just me and her. Originally, it was supposed to be myself, Sandra, and Mia. And so me and Sandra had been to the conference before. The last one was 2 years ago. And we took our whole family because we didn't want to be away from them. And we just took them along with us to Tulsa, and they just stayed in the Airbnb while we went to these sessions. And this time, it didn't really make sense. It just felt like expensive babysitting, like one other person shared with us. And we didn't quite, it just didn't work out. And one beautiful thing that happened that kind of made it a little easier for myself and Mia just to go was that Pastor Mike, so the lead pastor of Transformation Church, shared. So this conference was $350 a person. You're like, why are you spending $350 to go to church 3 days in a row for 5+ hours total? He's like, Matt, you're crazy. And yeah, I could see that, because I know I joke around and make fun of other, especially Spanish churches that they go forever, 2-3 hours. My mother-in-law's church goes, and I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm not caught up in that church. But then I'm at an experience that's way longer than that. So it's kind of funny, but hey, when you feel the Spirit is keeping you there and you're just getting fed and it is building you up and it just feels so peaceful, be there as long as you can. And that's what we were doing there. So myself and Mia. So Pastor Mike he didn't decide. God decided to make this conference free. So it's $350. We bought 3 tickets for $350 because we thought all 3 of us were going to go and we're going to take the whole family. Well, Pastor Mike, some months after they released the tickets, said that he felt Holy Spirit tell him. So Holy Spirit, God, God's Spirit, I'm going to explain that too much, but he just felt like he got a revelation from God that he needed to make the conference free. So he sent everybody back all of the funds, all of the money that they had paid for the conference. And I can tell you, because honestly, I was a little bit skeptical what the experience would be like now that they made everything free, gave everybody their money back. There's probably 4,000 to 5,000 tickets they could have sold at $350. Let's see. Let's do the math. I'm going to do some math here. Stick with me. 5,000. Let's just say 5,000. I may be overdoing. I think it's about that much times 350, and some of the tickets were even more. That's almost $1.7 million, almost $2 million. And I think some of the tickets would have been more expensive. Let's just say 1.5 to $2 million. And they said, we are not going to bring that in to help us run this conference. So the conference probably cost $500,000 to $1 million to put on. I mean, there's a big production team. They have a lot of artists in as far as the choir, and their musicians are super musicians. They're super professional. Their stage, I mean, the screens, it is just, it's a show. And the fact that they made it for free is amazing. And I don't know, I've never heard of a church doing something that big, just for free. And, oh man, I got gardeners. Hopefully they're not too loud. If they are, hopefully you can still hear me. So we decide that, okay, it's free. We don't have to worry too much about losing out on Sandra's ticket. We kept going back and forth. And finally we're like, you know what? It makes most sense for myself and Mia to go and Sandra to stay behind with the kids. I felt really bad. It was really hard. And that's what we did though. And so Mia had her own experience. It was very powerful. It was very encouraging, and prayers answered from the last conference of her even being there. I remember 2 years ago, crying out to God in those prayer sessions, God, for my children, for our children, at least for them to feel your presence and to be led by you, and to to see your goodness. And it was just like a lot of prayer, I remember, for like the generation beyond me and generations beyond me, right? That this is like a wave, and this is something that we are working towards, even if we don't get to see all of the fruit from it, that it'd be from our children. And so to see Mia there I even had to take a moment and just realize that blessing, because sometimes when we go to these kinds of meetings and conferences, like we want a word from God. We want like an answer to something, like, God, should I take this job or that job? God, should I marry this person or that person? God, should I be dating or should I not be dating? Should I invest here or should I not invest here, right? Should I move here? Should I not move here? Should I have a relationship with my mother or should I not? Like, we're going for answers. A lot of people, I'd say almost everybody, you're going anticipating God's going to meet you there with some kind of answer. And for me, I don't know if it's because I didn't want to be let down if I didn't get an answer. Because as you know, I'm in a kind of financial situation and journey where I am at the point where it's getting pretty close, right? To when like we need a job, or we're going to have to like refinance or sell our house or borrow money. It's getting tighter. And I've been going for I've went for these job interviews that I've shared, which I'll get to. And it would be nice for God to be like, all right, apply for this job, go through the interviews, say these things, right? Or invest your money in this cryptocurrency now, or invest your money in this stock now, and you will be fine. I didn't have that. I wasn't necessarily had that expectation. I just went. I was open to it. I was very much open to, like, if I ran into somebody I didn't know and they had a tech company or they had an educational technology company, and they're like, you know what? I need somebody who has your skills. Send me your resume. Let me see. And then I got this remote job from somebody I met in Tulsa, or somebody I met that's from Los Angeles, because at this conference, y'all, there were people, and this is part of Mike Todd's vision that he got from God, that there would be people that are part of this church that are of just wide ranges of age, right? That are from all cultures and all over the world. So you had people from Ireland, from Germany, from Africa, from Puerto Rico, from New York, Los Angeles, Kansas, from all over the country, from Australia. I mean, it just was like never ending. I would hear people yelling out where they were from, and it's very much a global crowd there. So, hey, you never know what you're going to run into, right? When you're there. And I'm up for meeting people. And so I was open to it, but I didn't necessarily be like, God, meet me here. I'm expecting this. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it ended up being good. And I'll start here. So that's kind of giving you a rundown of what last week was like for me, what Transformation Church is. You're welcome to look it up, and Pastor Mike Todd is amazing, and whatever you find on him, I hope you like. And if you don't, it is fine. He's not for everyone, and that's okay. There's so many pastors and there's so many things. So, whatever you find that you are linked in with, that is bringing you closer to God and putting more love and peace and joy in your heart, stay there. That's all I'm saying. And if it's not Mike Todd, I completely understand. And if you want to ask me why I follow Mike Todd, you're more than welcome. And I will be as open and transparent as possible. And you can disagree with me all you want, and we can still be best of friends. So that's a rundown of that. Let me tell you a story now. So to pick up where I left off, interviewing for a job. And it's a job, man. It's a job in a company that I saw that, I would just love to work for this company. They're such a great company. Hang on. Got some. I don't think I've ever done this on the podcast. Just wiping my nose, but I felt it, and I don't want anyone to see. But that get any worse than it had to. So it's a little cold, right? If you're in LA, you notice it rained a whole lot, which kind of came out of nowhere. Even saw like tornado warnings. It's like, I should have just stayed in Tulsa. They got tornadoes too. So let me get back to my point. So if you've listened to previous podcasts or not, I've been applying for jobs. I've been trying to constantly apply for jobs, and I feel like, I just need to be on it. Like, it's about that time. So for some months now, I've been doing that and working on my resume And shout out to Thierry and Juan, who, helped me with my resume. I very much appreciate it. And yeah, it was just a blessing to have people that can help you when you're working through things and trying to make things better. So they're definitely a blessing. So I'm applying for jobs. Again, this company that I really like, man, their culture, I can just see it like in their application, in their communication back and forth with me, just great culture, a great app company. And I really wanted the job. And the thing about this job is that I love the culture of the job. I thought for sure I can do the role, and it would be a growing thing for me because it wasn't exactly what I've done, but it's really close to what I've done in the past. So I go for one job interview, goes okay. It's actually with somebody who spoke Italian, and I speak a little Italian, so we connected a little bit. I'm like, this is all good. This is amazing. And then that was more so to see like, is this person crazy or dumb? It was like one of those screening interviews because they have like a 5-step process. It was like interview 1, screening, interview 2, let's talk a little bit more deeper and get to know you, and then you go through the third and fourth part, which are like a working interviews. Like they give you assignments, and then they go over like how it went and why you chose to do things. And then they have the 5th interview, which is like maybe with somebody a little bit higher, and it's almost like the interview where they're going to offer you the job. So it was a long process, but I was like, this is cool. At least they're vetting the people that work at this company. I know work with some great people. And so go for one interview, I get through it. And they call me for the second one really quickly. I'm like, this is moving quick. This is awesome. Have the second interview. I prepare for it. And I think I have a pretty good like game plan and like the way I'm going to share a story. And I felt like it went really well, like as well as it could have. Like I was connecting with these 2 people that interviewed me. I felt like they were going to be great. Like these are great friends. Like we were connecting. And it wasn't only later after I thought maybe I didn't, because I'll take some responsibility. I won't say like entirely that, I did amazing. They should have hired me. And it just what, God said no. Maybe, but I feel like I'll take some accountability, and I didn't maybe sell enough and could talk about enough how I could take that job. I think I got too caught up in the relationship and like talking with these people. It's still within the realm of the job and the field, but not enough on like how I am a great pick exactly for those tasks that need to be done. I think that was maybe one thing. So that was kind of sitting and ruminating in my head as I'm waiting for the next call. And I was like, you know what? No, I did as well as I could. And if they don't pick me for the next thing, then it's fine. The next thing was really going to see, can I do the task? So I thought, man, it was like an hour-long interview, y'all. So we were talking. It was great. I was asking them questions. I thought it was a great interview, to be honest. Even though I have that like critique in looking back. And so I have a Tuesday morning flight to Tulsa, Oklahoma with Mia. And we have to wake up like at 5:30. We're leaving like at 5:36 to head to the flyaway. If you're in LA, you know this. It takes a long time to get to the airport, even when you're trying to be early. So head to the flyaway, and our flight's at 9:30 or like 9 something. And we can't miss this flight because there's only one direct flight to Tulsa a day. Take the flyaway, right? And then flyaway is going to take us to, and it's like it was like 2 hours to get to LAX from my house. But before that, as I'm sleeping, I get woken up in the middle of the night. And if I've shared like middle of the night, sometimes like there's some worry and anxiety when I wake up into, and I got to pray against it. So it's kind of like that. What's happening. And I just kind of start to feel like, man, this sucks that I'm going to be leaving my family here for a handful of days. And not that I thought anything bad would happen to them. It's just that even for them to be here at the house worried without me or feeling scared, like it really hurt. I was like, dude, this sucks. Like I'm leaving. And that was a huge part of what this job would have been. A lot of travel. So I would have been covering California, Colorado, and Arizona, and having to travel sometimes, probably, it said like traveling up to 50% of the time. And the job was going to be a pretty significant pay decrease from my previous job, which I was fine with. Like, I just needed something to help us stay afloat and to just keep paying bills. So I was fine with it. It wasn't no shade to me, no hit to my pride. I was okay with it. So I was like, when I was going through it, talking to Sandra, like, but these two things, like I got to travel and the pay is going to be less, but man, the job seems so great. But those are two things. I was like, I'm going to keep going forward because this company's great. The people seem great. I think I could do this job. And so the morning of, as I'm feeling that guilt, I feel like something tell me, if you can't, go on this trip for the 4 days or so, more or less, like imagine if when you have to work for this company, you're going to be traveling. It's going to be constant. You're going to constantly feel guilty. And then I felt something tell me you didn't get the job. And in my head, I'm like, no, that's the devil. That's like the accuser. That is the enemy. And I need to push that away. Like I am capable and I'm qualified for this job and we can make it work. Like this job will be great. And so I thought that's what that was. So I turn over and it's like close to 5 when I'm waking up. And what's in my email? As you can already tell by the way I'm talking, it's an email from the job telling me I didn't get the job, that I won't be going on further in the process. And I just thought, man, what timing. Like I told them that I was going to be going on this trip, that I wouldn't be able to do anything as far as the interview process because I'm going on this trip in this week. So it's like they could have waited a week. Maybe till I got back. I don't know. It just was interesting timing. The morning of, I'm waking up to go on this flight, to go to this place where I'm going to go worship God. I'm going to pray, connect with people and really seek God and his will and what he has for my life. And so when I wake up, I'm really torn. It was really rough that morning, to be honest. Like I think near tears, if not some tear shed, and I'm okay sharing that. Just the disappointment, the fear that rushed in, like, man, how long is it going to take for me to get another interview? Like how many more applications? Then like for them to realize my application, then to interview me, and then to go through that process, and then to get hired. Like how many months are we looking out? Because there's only so much funds that we have that are going to last us several months. But still, it's like, man, as the months start passing, so all that fear rushes in and I just have to hit my knees. So I'm going to be 100% like, I'm coming from this conference and I got nothing but vulnerability and honesty to share with y'all right now. So, and this may be longer than usual. Like I'm already seeing, we're approaching 30 minutes. So you're going to get this story and you could stick around as long as you want. There's just so many things here. I feel like I have to share. And because maybe you've gone through this, right? You didn't get the job and you've been laid off, or money's tight, or you're wondering what job you should get. And the timing is terrible. It's terrible for your heart. It's terrible for your soul. It's terrible for your mental health that you got laid off, or that you're not getting a job, or that this bill came out of nowhere. And it's like, it feels like everything is crumbling and there's no way you're going to get out of it. So all of that hit me in that morning. And I just hit my knees. I was like, I don't know what else to do, because this is what I've been rooted in this last, year, really trying to dig my roots in. So I know what to do when these kinds of things hit me. I know that there is a God who's good, who will help me find a way, who has goodness entailed for me. And even if I don't see that 100% goodness and everything, like I know that he will use whatever bad comes from my life and turn it into good for my children if I just focus on him. So I just knew I had to hit my knees to the ground and just pray. Even though I was feeling kind of guilty that I felt that bad, but I had to still come to God 100%. This is exactly how I feel, God. I'm so worried. I'm going to this conference. I just didn't get this job. Man, I need to hit applications hard now because I need to get on it. I need to find that job really quick because we're running out of money, right? That's what it feels like. And maybe I should skip the conference. I remember hearing that in my head, because that's like almost like 5 days I'm using to go to this conference that's free. The only thing that's going to cost me is the Airbnb, and we split that. I got the tickets for the flight pretty much almost entirely on points. I got the rental car almost entirely on points. The conference was free now. I'm not missing out, right? So that temptation to be like, I have no business going to this conference. And I heard that echoing in my head, that for sure, that accuser that I talked about in the last episode, more or less. And let me take a moment. This is episode 7. That is wild to me. That skipped last week. This is 7. 7, if you know, kind of an important number, holy number, complete number. It's just interesting to me. This is episode 7. Let me continue. So I'm hearing you have no reason, you have no, you shouldn't be going to this conference, right? You have no business going to this conference and wasting some time that you could be spending hitting applications hard, finding a job, calling people, because it felt dire to me. And I shut that down really quick. I knew already. I was like, how stupid is that? And this may sound crazy to some people. This may sound wild. Like, Matt, what do you mean? When you don't get a job, like, you better keep getting that next interview as soon as possible. I understand the logic of that. However, I also serve a God who works on my behalf when I wait, when I don't do things out of anxious reactions, when I don't do things because I'm super stressed out and I'm panicking. I truly believe that I serve a God that can figure things out in a way where I'm not doing nothing. I'm not saying I'm doing nothing, but I'm not anxiously moving forward. I'm working hard. I'm being grateful. I'm worshiping him. And I'm also, there was going to be time, like it was 5 days. I have several months left, but I can't take these 5 days. So I shut that down. I was like, that's the stupidest thing in the world. If there's no better place for me to be going than this conference, to be going and give gratefulness to God for everything he's already provided. Even if I didn't get this job, he's still good. I still have 4 children that are healthy. I still have a wife who loves me and that we've been saved from our divorce. I have a roof over my head. I have cars in the driveway that work. There is plenty of food in my cabinets. I have my health. My family loves me. I have friends who love me. Like, that was crazy. There's a God that needs to be worshiped, and I'm not gonna lose that opportunity. So I shut that up real quick, got up. It was still heavy. God said, share it with your wife. I shared it with Sandra. We hugged. I loved on her before I left, and I knew that's done. That's complete. Let's go. I'm sorry. I may get emotional on this one. This may be the first one. There's just a lot of fire from this conference. And so we go forward. I have peace about it. I know there's no better place to be. So we take the 2-hour, LAX is only like 20 miles away. It's crazy. But it takes like 2 hours to get there. We get there with more than enough time, peacefully. TSA wasn't too bad, even though the government shut down, right? So that's a blessing. I'll take that. I'm texting my tribe, hey, getting on the airplane, and people are, and then I get there safely. Thank God. That's a blessing. I'm gonna count my blessings. And just even chopping it up with Mia on the way over there. And she's just, man, the person she's growing into is just amazing what God is doing in her life. And so we get there to Tulsa, we settle in, and we rent a car. I rented a van and told everybody, hey, I got the soccer mom van. I'll be our taxi. And that's what we do. There was 7 of us, and we fit just right into the van. And Tulsa's not a location where you have good public transportation. So we just got around everywhere, just all together in that van. And it was beautiful. And a lot of funny stories, like not turning off the car because I'm so used to my Tesla and I'm bougie. And I forget to turn off the car all the time because you have to press a button. And the Tesla, you just get out. So we get there, and I'm just ready to thank God for everything he's already done. I really was. even though I had all that and I didn't know what was next, I was just ready to praise. And just being, man, that audience is just, if you've maybe never been a part of a worship like that, and maybe you have, like, where it's just so free, everybody's dancing, everybody's singing, the music is a vibe. Like, Pastor Mike is so anointed in the music he does, and the messages were just so amazing. I'm taking notes, and then at the end of it all, I remember just, we were all checking in with each other, like, hey, what did you get from this? What stood out to you? What are you hearing, God? And we all had different things, and it was just amazing to share with each other. And for me, it was just that prayer answered, being Mia being a testimony that my children are seeking God, and there's fruit that's already being reaped from me staying faithful to this, and them seeing me do this in a way that's not religious or legal. They're seeing me do this out of love. I hope that's my goal, and I try to do that as best as I can, so that they can see that it's honey. This isn't like coming from bees that are going to sting you. This is honey that's sweet, and that, hey, I kind of want to see what's that all about that Dad's doing, and that seems interesting. It seems powerful. It seems loving, and to see my daughter just worshiping there, man, just a blessing in itself. And so from there, it was just so freeing. Like, I felt so tired. We didn't get a lot of sleep because sessions would go late tonight to like 10:30 at night. Then we had to be up to be back at the one at 9, but you have to be in line by 7:30 or so. It was crazy. And we were tired. However, even as tired and exhausted as I was, when I came and the worship was on, something about in your spirit, when you are ready to worship and that energy that is there, it just falls off. And then I was tired all over again at the end of it. And that in itself was just so freeing to me. It's just what my soul needed, to be re-energized, to be refilled, to get peace and confidence and faith to know that God's going to take care of it. Even if it seems like everything is down and out. And this is what I wanted to share. I found what I wanted to say here. Again, I don't have notes. I didn't write out a structure. This is just based on my experience and thoughts I've been having and what I want to share with y'all. So the theme of this conference was faith in the fire. And that may mean nothing to some people. And you may know exactly where I'm going. And as we're going to this conference, so faith in the fire, and we're driving in, I'm like telling my tribe, y'all, you know that we're driving to this thing that is telling us to have faith in the fire. And if I know anything about fires, if I know anything about the Bible, yes, fires can be positive, but also they're tests, they're difficult times, they're struggles, they're dangerous things. We're driving to this thing that we're going to have faith and confidence and trust in terrible situations. Like, this is going to be hard. And I saw it coming, but it was so encouraging still. And so the conference was all built off of and started with the story of, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Maybe I hit that right. I know that's their slave names, but still, those are the three Jewish men in the story. And if you have no context at all, that's okay. It's in the book of Daniel. If you want to go and find the address, it's in chapter 3. And you can read this small part of the story that for yourself. It's really short. And this is like the main piece of it. You can go and read that and you'll have more context. And I'll explain it really quick though. So in short, what this was built off of is that the Jews, the Israelites, they have been conquered. Babylon, another kingdom, has conquered them and killed them, and a lot of them and their best and brightest men and women have been taken into pretty much slavery or put into positions to work for Babylon and the kingdom and for their economy. And so there are 3 men, though, that are there that are pointed out in this story. All right, you with me? So these boys that were a part of another civilization, right? Their kingdom was conquered, and now they're in this other kingdom, kind of just as slaves pretty much, but they're working for the government. And the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, he builds this great statue, this great image. I would imagine it's an image of him. It's a statue of him, this great giant statue, this golden statue. And it says whenever the music plays, so they play like some music, everybody in that kingdom is to worship and bow, get on their knees and worship that statue, worship that golden image. And if they don't, like, there's going to be a cost to pay. And so that is the directions that the entire kingdom is given. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, these three Jewish boys that are coming from this other civilization, say, that is not our God. We are not going to bow down to this God, this statue. We have a God. His name is Yahweh. He is the God, the greatest God, the only God, and that's who we are going to serve. So we don't worship your God. We are told to not worship any other God but our God. So we're not going to do it. And so word gets out to this king that these three Jewish boys are not worshiping the statue when everybody else is, right? The music plays, you get on your knees because that was what the king has put in law. And if you don't, there's going to be repercussions. It finds out, right? Somebody rats on them, and the king confronts them. He's like, hey, what do you mean you're not bowing down? Like, nobody goes against me. Like, I am the king. So I'm going to play this music for you right now. We're going to play the music. And if you don't bow down, you will for sure be put in this giant furnace and you will be burned alive. So either you decide you can worship your God, right, and not bow down, and be put in the furnace, or you can worship what I'm telling you to worship and you'll live. And they just, in a very bold manner, say, like, it's fine if that's what you're going to do, but we're not going to worship anything but our God, the God that has been true to us. So do what you need to do, but we're not bowing down. So they play the music. They don't bow down. They stand their ground, and they tell the king, and eat. So you could throw us in the fire, and we know that our God will come through for us. And here's the gangster part that everybody talks about, right? You already know where I'm going if you know this story. But even if God doesn't come through and save us, right, we still believe that our God is the ultimate power. Our God is the main God, and we will serve him. So do what you need to do. Even if we die, it's fine. We're not going to bow down to this thing. So they play the music. They don't bow down. And they throw them into the furnace, into this blazing hot furnace that they make, number again, 7 times hotter than usual. I'm telling you, this number, just if you see numbers in the Bible, you should look them up. Ask good old ChatGPT, maybe if there's some meaning there. So 7 times hotter. So it's completely hot, right? It's as hot as it can be. And it says that it is so hot that the soldiers that bind them up, these 3 Jewish men, bind them up and throw them into the furnace. It is so hot that when they throw them into the furnace, those soldiers get burned alive. But when they get thrown into the furnace, the bindings get burned off, right? And then, it doesn't say that, but essentially they're walking around freely in this crazy furnace. So they're not being burned up. God has come through for them. And when the king sees the 3 men walking around freely in the furnace, he's like, wait, I threw in 3. We threw in 3, right? Everybody knows 1, 2, 3, right? 3, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those are the ones we threw in there. Nobody else. And everyone's like, yes, just 3. But I see a 4th one who looks like the son of a god that is with them. And this is 400 years before Jesus. And Jesus goes on in his time to talk about this story as well. So it's very prophetic. It's very powerful. And so I tell that story because that is the foundation of this conference, of all of the music, all of the sermons, the speeches, that yes, we can preach and tell to people about testimonies and how I got through the fire and you're going to get through that fire too, right? And then there's another side to it and you will become free. I get that. But in this conference, it was very much so having faith in the fire. That no matter what struggle you're going through, how difficult it seems, there is somebody else with you in this fire. That God has sent somebody himself in the flesh, right? And now his Spirit is with us always. That when we declare that he is our God, that he is with us. And I would say even a lot of the times, we don't even need to do that sometimes. And he's just such a gracious God that I know I've had a lot of blessings and I wasn't even close to God. And now I look back, I'm like, man, so he wouldn't be with us when in these fires. But when we can notice him, we'll feel his presence. And then anything we're going through, all the fires, right? We may never get out of a fire in our life. There always will be a new fire, it seems like. We'll always be going through something. But see, it's not about getting out of the fire. It's that there's somebody else with us in these fires. That God is with us. So that was the foundation, that having faith in the fire, having faith and trust that God is with us in whatever we're going through. And that really re-energized me. And that's kind of what I was practicing or trying to practice right before I got on my flight. That it felt like a fire. It felt so much worry, but I knew that I could pray to God and he's real and he would meet me, and that I just needed that's really where I should have been. And so to hear that word and to be just filled up with even so another like play on that, it's like with the Spirit, which is like seen as fire as well. Like, so that fire within us, I mean, I'm just energized right now. Like I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Like, I know God's going to come through no matter what. And I had to share that with my wife as well, in tears, just ugly crying. And so that was the main message from that. And coming home, it wasn't like there was a job waiting for me. I got a response from a company that, had put an application for, or that company. And I sent them an email saying that company I interviewed for, like, oh, I understand that I didn't, express these things. And, I'm open for another opportunity, because I was kind of just keeping the door open. I didn't get anything from them. I didn't get anything from anyone. The only thing that was peculiar to me is that, and I can only share so much about this next part, if you're listening this long and you're like really interested in this story that I'm sharing with you my last week, is that there is a friend, somebody I know that's dear to me, that something developed for them while I was at conference that I didn't really get to talk to. And maybe, so crazy, it's just dawning on me now. Man. So maybe it wasn't meant for me to talk to them because they were trying to get a hold of me while I was at conference, but I was driving, talking, and then worshiping, just always the zing, eating. There was always something to do, man. And I felt bad. I barely had enough time to talk to my wife and kids. So when they called me, I wanted to answer the phone, and usually as a person, like, I don't not answer the phone. But I didn't get a chance. We didn't connect while I was out there. And maybe if I would have forced it, I would have, and I'd be praying on what they would have shared with me and asking for an answer while I'm out there, and almost like another distraction. So I'm actually grateful that I didn't know anything before I got home, because my focus was, thank you, God, for everything you've done. And if you don't do anything else, I am grateful for meeting my tribe in person. Whew, that's a blessing already. Trust me, that was amazing to hug those people in person and sit with them and stay up to 1 a.m. when we had to be up like at 7 a.m. Like, it's crazy blessing. My daughter was there with me. I had so much to be grateful for. And just that worship and gratefulness, just so freeing. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to focus on that, nothing else. And so it must have not been meant to be for me to find out about that until I came home. So I had another thought when I was thinking that, but it's okay. I can't remember. So I come home, find out about this other opportunity, and I'm like, not sure, right? Because it's going to cost me something. It's going to cost, money that I kind of need to keep us afloat. And just kind of wrestling with it. Like, yeah, it kind of seems right. And I've been open to this opportunity before, but I'm also just not sure. There's a chance, and it's going to require time, and it's going to be maybe a strain on my family. And my family's super important to me, and my relationship with my wife. And I'm just really trying to protect that. And even just time with God, like time is very tough, right? But if you're starting some new, like pretty big opportunity, it can require a lot of time as well. And so just talking back and forth with this person, because when I come back is when I hear about it all. And it's just interesting timing. It very much is. And it's at a point where if I had more money like 6 months ago, when I had much more money, it would have been easier. Like, yeah, bet. Like, I've been like wanting to do that. But now there's less money, maybe just enough, but now we require more faith. I find that interesting. And so wrestling with it. And I remember in my Bible study reading about the Israelites as they are, so they're freed. Do a little history of Israelites. This is pre that story I told you about Daniel. They were enslaved by the Egyptians, and they're crying out to God, and God frees them. God frees them from their slavery, their oppressors. He provides for them when they're free, and they're now just living in the wilderness. And he then goes forward to make them a great civilization and multiplies them and is winning battles for them that don't make sense. Like, they break a bunch of glass and their enemies run away. Like, they didn't fight. Or like they have a lot less men and they win the battle. Like, God is just winning battles for them that don't even make sense, right? And so now they've come to this point where they don't have a king, but they've always had like a prophet, like Moses, if you're familiar with that. And right now the prophet's named Samuel. And it's more so like this mediator, this person that's talking to God and then talking to them and just getting wisdom and direction, and just kind of this person in between and just helping to guide them as they're leaning on God through this person. And so they're at the point where they have developed as a civilization, and they are very much aware, and they see all of the nations around them and that they all have kings, and they have kings that go out and battle with them, and that they have great kingdoms and great castles probably, and lots of riches, and they're just very powerful. And they're like, that looks great. That looks very promising. That looks very reassuring to have this king that is powerful and we can see and can go out ahead of us in battles, and just we can be in great numbers because this king is going to create a great army. And so that's what they see around them. So they tell Samuel, like, we want a king. Like, you're great and all, God's great, but we need an actual, like a real king. Like, and God has come through. Like, he's been amazing. But we think we need a king. Like, we see these other people with the king, and he's a great king. And God tells Samuel, who's in charge of something, like, they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting me. All right. I've come through for them all, like so far and so many times. And they just, for whatever reason, can't accept me. And that's all right. And God goes on to tell them that, okay, well, now you're going to have to pretty much not sacrifice, but you're going to have to enlist all of your sons, your powerful sons and your daughters to do the work of this kingdom. And so you want to have a nation like that where all of your sons are soldiers and battling and dying. That's what you have to do. So he organizes them, tell them, okay, you're going to have chariots and all right, this is what you're going to have to do. And they're cool with it. They're like, yes, just give us a king. It's okay. Yeah, we want the armies and everything. And he goes through with it. And what stuck out to me in that story was like, it's so amazing, at least for me, how like I have this house, bought it at a time where it didn't make sense. I didn't even know the market was down. It was like 2010. We got it super cheap. I thought it was expensive. And people tell me like, no, you're crazy. This house was super cheap. Like God saved my marriage at a time where I wasn't necessarily following him, where he spoke to me about how we were going to get through it. And it was a time where I wasn't even close to trying to work out my marriage. Like if anything, I was talking to somebody else. Like I've talked about on here, like I was emotionally cheating on my wife. And God spoke to me about how we're going to make it work. And it worked. Like we have children. He's provided. We've had trips. Like God has been so faithful up to this point, right? Without me doing like much. It's just, this is the life that I have. And I feel like it's a lot like the Israelites. Like God was just faithful because he's an amazing God. And now they're at this point where to keep moving forward like this is going to require some faith. Like you've seen his record, like just have faith that he'll do it. However, they decide to take things into their own hands and say, we want to be like the powerful things we see around us. And I felt like this is a moment where either I'm going to have faith that God's going to come through, or I'm going to anxiously try to grab at the next job and just take it, or just, get on the grind and and do things on my terms, because I see that that's how most people get to their next step in seasons like this. And I just saw it as a moment of, am I going to have faith that God can continue with his track record and be faithful? And you may hear this and be like, and things don't go right for me, right? Or don't go as they seem right in people's eyes. And it's like, Matt, see, told you that God won't come through with you. But even in that, I still think he's great. And so it's just a moment where I was like, all right, I need to buckle down. I need to just say, I'm going to believe that God is going to be the answer for me. And I remember he has a track record of being good. So, I'm moving forward with this opportunity. All that to say, moving forward with this opportunity, I feel like it's going to require more faith than some of the other things I'm going to do, but I know God will come through. And I'm going to keep speaking that into existence, because as I heard this morning, that in something I was listening to, that there's very much so powerful in our tongue, and what we speak can bring things, right? Not to like speak things into like, just say it and pray and it'll happen, but that it connects to the people we're talking to, the words that we're saying, to our own will, our own energy, right? That as we say things, if we're just breaking ourselves down every morning in the mirror, it's probably going to be like our energy throughout the day. If we're saying, no, God has called me to this, I'm going to do everything I can on my end, and hopefully God does it on his end, that his will be done in this thing that I've been put on assignment for. Man, I've been talking for almost an hour now, and I want to share more. Y'all ready for more? Feel free to tune out if you want to, but I'm going to share a little bit more. I told you I had a lot. I told you I've been going through stuff. I told you I've been getting just like revelations, not necessarily directions, but revelations, and God's always talking. It may not just be the way we want it to. He might not give clear instructions, right? Or just like prophesy and tell you this is exactly what will happen. I will open the skies. The job will drop in front of you. You will work for this company. You will make this much money. And this is how you will go forward, and just put in this one application. Like, it just, for some people may get that revelation, and I hope you do, because then it's much easier and you'll know exactly on time. But God is talking. Are we listening to even the things that he's saying that we don't necessarily feel like we want to hear? And not in that we don't want to hear in a way, it's like that he's like disciplining us or trying to even make us better. It's like things that we're not expecting, like maybe like being grateful and not hoping for like the next thing. Because I felt myself that like I was just worshiping the next thing. Like, God, I just need to know the next thing. Like, tell me the next thing. And now I'm caught up idolizing, and just that's all I could think is the next thing. And God's like, stop thinking about the next thing. Just spend some time with me and just know that I got it figured out. And just keep doing what you see in front of you, and dedicate your time to that. So let me dive into that now, where I was saying, like, here's this next part. So there's this opportunity that I'm looking forward to sharing with y'all a lot more, for sure, when we are closer. But I'm pretty sure we're in agreement that we're not talking very much about this opportunity. So it's okay. It's just calling an opportunity. Work with me. You know it's something. And I'm just wrestling with it. Like, man, like I want to go 100% in this, but I'm just not sure. Like, I'm kind of moving forward, but also like, I'm not sure. And this is kind of risky. And God just, open up the clouds and tell me to go for this opportunity. That's kind of what I want. And I'm sitting with it. I'm like, God, why can't this just be clear? Like, why can't I just know that this is the path? Go here, invest here. And I'm just like, because it seems right. It does seem right. The timing is peculiar. And I'm just coming off conference and I'm ready to go. Whatever you plug me into. And so it was, I think yesterday. I don't know. Days are losing me. But I was spending time with God, morning time with God, reading my Bible, just journaling and praying. And I'm just sitting there like, all right, God, like, what is it? Is it me? Like, what is it? Like, why can't I just move forward 100%? And I pretty clearly like felt him telling me, you're having decision paralysis. It's not about what you do. Like, yeah, it's not about what you do. You can be making tacos. You can be being a coder. You can be teaching in a classroom. You can be an interpreter. You can be a pastor. You can be working for mental health, a therapist. You can be a lawyer, right? A doctor, just a reservationist, which I used to be like take telephone reservations. A driver, anything, right? You could do anything, and it's all about how you do it. Are you doing it in a manner that is showing that is showing proof and evidence that you have been spent time with me in my heavenly presence, in my good, joyful, loving presence, and you are just echoing that out to the world? Like, are you doing it in that way? Like, how are you doing it? And why you are doing it, right? So you are doing it in that manner because you know when you do that, you are bringing heaven on earth. You are giving God the glory and saying that there is this King, this Father that I serve that is just so amazing and loving. Right? Like what, like such, and I know I've had rough times talking about Jesus on here, and I'm still reading through that, but like when I think about it, like what an amazing God to serve. Like if we believe like the story that if Jesus is the ultimate realization, and like when we see God is so such a loving being that forgives and willing to die for his children, like doing the ultimate cost, and like tells us to love children above all else, and to like just has grace on people and provides, and telling us to love our enemies, and shows how to love the enemies. Like, and it's just the validation that he gives to people. Like, it's just this, man, what a great God. And I'm losing myself a bit in just realizing how great he is. I found it now. So like, that's why. It's because we are trying to show we are doing things in this way. And it's not because of me. It's because like my God, my Father has been so great to me, and I'm trying to live in his image, right? Like, so if you have a great dad, like I like to think like I'm a decent dad. So like my son likes to try to dress like me or talk like me. And I hope it's because like he thinks his dad's the greatest and he wants to be like his dad. And I think the same goes for us. And so when we try to do things in a way that's similar, in a very like peaceful, loving, generous way, that it's because God is loving and generous and peaceful to us. And we're echoing that. And so he told me, like, it's not about what you do. It's about how and why you do it. I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? And again, he's like, decision paralysis. You are paralyzed by this decision. Like, just choose, Matt. What do you want to do? And then do that as best as you can. And I was like, and he dropped in a memory for me of, I must have been like 7 or 9 or something. And I'm at Toys R Us, right? Shout out to everybody who knows what a Toys R Us is. It's not that old. My daughter knows what Toys R Us is. She's 15. And, but they went bankrupt. But I remember it being like, I thought it was the best place in the world, like KB Toys, like just a toy place that had toys that allowed you to play with them. Like, that's super rare these days. Like KB Toys was legit in Northridge Mall. Like I used to love going in there. They can mess with their toys and hope that you would get that toy someday. And so I'm at Toys R Us, and I must have like some kind of birthday funds or something. Somebody gave me an amount of money that was enough to buy maybe 1 or 2 toys, like a nice toy, like I was in there and I'm going to get the toy that I want. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted. Like there wasn't the internet. There weren't, YouTube where you could watch a bunch of toy reviews and see like, oh, I want that toy. I've been wanting that toy. Sorry, my noise is bugging me. And so I'm in Toys R Us with my mom, and I know she remembers this story. My wife knows this story. And it just came to me. I hadn't told this story in a while. And I remember like, oh man, do I want the Ninja Turtle? like van with with 3 Ninja Turtles, or man, the Nerf gun is really dope and my friends have Nerf guns and we've been having a lot of Nerf guns fights? Or do I want like the latest version of Sonic the Hedgehog? Or like, man, that basketball is really nice. And there's just like dope toy after dope toy. Like, man, like I don't want to see any more things that I want. And I remember I couldn't decide because I didn't have enough money to get everything, but I had enough money to get something. And I just was in the place that I thought was going to be the most joyful, fun place that I was anticipating to be at, in tears, crying, and just could not make a decision about one thing that I wanted. And this memory hit me. I'm like, yep, that's what's happening right now. I'm in decision paralysis. I'm trying to juggle things. I'm trying to, help out the opportunity thing that's coming up. And I'm trying to maybe like continue working on my resume, apply for jobs, and then work on the salsa courses. And it's like juggling, and be a dad and be a husband and do my church. And I know we need, don't get me wrong, my time with God, like I'm going to figure that out. Like that's been having too much fruit there. Like that's going to stay, my family, that's not going anywhere. And outside of that, like I needed to make a decision. And so I wasn't necessarily ready to make that decision. I think there were some things I had to iron out, but I was like, okay, I need to go iron out. I need to make a decision. So God told me, you need to seek, decide, and wait. It's like, well, what does that mean? So seek him first. If you may be familiar with the verse in Matthew, it says to seek first the kingdom. All that means is just try to be in God's presence. Seek and spend time with him and let him rub off on you and let him speak to you about maybe, to go in this direction or to have faith for something, or, just try to stay close to him so that you are within his will and within like the heavenly things that he's trying to do here on this earth. So that is like seeking him first, like make time for God, read your Bible, pray, spend time with people, like seek him first. All right. So seek. All right. Cause that is going to essentially help me do whatever I do, right? My why, now I can do like what I'm going to do. So decide what you're going to do. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Whatever you're saying yes to, put all of as much time as you have available and effort into that thing, right? Don't fiddle with these other things. All right. So decide and then wait. And the wait one's interesting because Transformation Church talks and has a lot of songs about waiting on the Lord. And I feel like even them, they don't do a great job of maybe, let's peel that back a little bit, because waiting sounds like doing nothing. And me and Sandra had a moment after I came back from conference, like, but what is waiting? Like, is waiting for a job to fall out of the sky? It's like, no. So I had to look up like, okay, what's the original word? Like, what is this? Is it this or is it not this? And essentially what would we kind of learn from it is that waiting is not doing nothing. However, it is the opposite of trying to do everything to the point where we are anxious and stressed and spending more time than we should and ignoring our family and ignoring our loved ones and our mental health and our physical health and our sleep, right? Because we're trying to get something done and we're anxious about it. And the world says to grind and to work crazy hours, and that's the only way you're going to get things done. Like that is not waiting. Like that is 100% the opposite of waiting. Waiting, more so from what we understood, is yes, doing as much as you can in the time that you are allotted, right? Your daily bread. And do it to the point that you can, where you're not just anxiously overworking yourself. Like I know it is like a kind of a grayness here and kind of a thin line, but allowing God to do some things too, right? Like, do you really need to like finish the website tonight when no one's going to see it like 3 days from now, but you just like want to get this done because you're anticipating there's going to be more tasks. And then you're just trying to get on top of it and you're anxious and you're worried like, oh man, but nobody's buying anything. And then it's just like, you're going crazy, right? And you're kind of stressing yourself out. And it's like waiting on God is more so doing things in a rhythm that is allowing for rest, that is allowing for peace, to spend time with people, to spend time with God. It's not that you're not working. It's just not work. You're not idolizing your work, right? You're not focusing so much on it, on everything that you need to do, quote unquote. And you're also allowing God to work out some things, right? What if maybe that money that you're trying to make and you think you need to make a sale, like there could be somebody who wants to invest, right? But you got so ahead of it that you didn't have that conversation, or you didn't allow enough time for that person to even talk to you or meet that person, right? Like it's just making space for God to also fight this battle. Like that's the weight, is doing things with a posture of, all right, I've done what I can. I'm not going to overstress it. I'm not going to tear down relationships and get anxious about this, right? And even if I do, I'll take it to God, but I'll make some space for God to work as well. So to me, that's more so what we understood the weight is. And honestly, sometimes the weight can just be waiting. Like you have something and you've applied for it. And it's like, I'm not going to worry about it. And sometimes the weight can look like that as well. So these are three things. So I got seek, and this is for me, decide and wait. So had some conversations with my family, and pretty sure, at least all I can speak for is for today. Right now, I'm moving forward with this opportunity as much as I can. I'm going to keep doing this podcast pretty regularly. I don't see it taking up all the time. I'm supposed to be making shorter episodes, but I skipped a week. So now you're getting an hour plus because I had a lot to share. So that's where I am. Like, I really feel on fire. I really know that like I need to throw some of my dignity and pride into like the fire and just let it burn. Cause like, I feel like I need to worship harder. I need to be more grateful to the God that's providing everything and will provide everything. And even when he doesn't, I know he's faithful and he'll provide for, next generations to come. And even if, gotta get uncomfortable financially in the next, chapter, it's all right. We'll make the moves and he's still good. And I dare not to still love on people and be generous where I can, even when I don't have that much. And just try to have enough peace and joy in my heart that can be shared with people and not just be anxious every day because things are uncomfortable and things aren't going my way. And that is a stance that I think I'm having to share with my wife, my kids, talking it out, trying to be open as possible. Like, hey, you hear dad talking about finances. Does it scare you? No. Okay. And just talking it out. Like, I don't want to hide everything from my kids. I get it. You don't want to scare them, but I also am trying to maybe set a new example and let them in a little bit and talk to them about it and not hide it completely. Not everything, but as much as I can. So that's where I am, working on this new opportunity. I hope to share more with you very soon. You'll still be getting this podcast for sure. And I think next week I'll have things more structured, but I just wanted to kind of download to everybody who's listening what I've been going through. And I want to encourage you for sure. And and we've already bought tickets for next year's conference. So if this podcast is still going next year, you won't see me or hear from me the week of October 7th. We have bought it in faith and in ahead of time that God will provide, for the watching of our kids and all the things, and the Airbnb, we'll see. I think me and Sandra we know that we should carve out time to like really go and seek God and just give him worship and grateful for the greatness and that he is. So that's where we are. So that's all I have to share for today. Like, I only talked for 30 minutes, but I hope it's been encouraging. I hope at least it's been interesting that, keep you here long enough. Until next time, y'all. Peace.